All right, my name is William Scott. I'm running for Upper Darby Council in the 5th as a Republican. I'd like to earn your vote. Please, on November 4th, 2025 is a very important election. We need everyone to come out and vote either by mail or in person because we need to change the leadership in this town. Unfortunately, this township was running at a surplus just a few short years ago. Now we're running at a deficit, and that we need an EIT tax of 1% just to get near balancing the budget. We have a leadership that needs to be held accountable, and for their just not for their spending, but the general way they look at and treat the community. We have crime, we have bad schools, we have basically an unsafe quality of living, a very poor quality of living. Please vote for the whole Republican ticket. Myself for the 5th, vote for Dave Schaffer, Bob Yarantaro, Oswald Ocabito, Roger Seo, Crystal Gold, and of course the independent Laura Wentz. We need to have solid, accountable leadership this year moving forward for all of us in Upper Darby. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Crystal Gold and I am running for Upper Darby Township Treasurer. I am running because for far too long mismanagement, wasteful spending has gotten in the way of our progress. People have not been truthful about the spending. Unfortunately, taxes continue to rise and our services, they're getting few and few. I don't think that's fair. However, I do know that there's something we can do about it. I'm running so that you know where your money is going. I'm running so that there is more transparency, there's more responsibility, and there's someone to hold Township Council accountable for the decisions that they're making. Here's the thing though, I can't do it without you. I need your help. I need you to make a plan to vote and make a plan to elect me as treasurer so that we can safeguard our funds and so that we can have a stronger and more thriving community moving forward.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the wonderful world of Rich Blye on cmpradio.net, the voice of Chester. This is a special edition tonight, folks. We are here today in Upper Darby Township, PA, to talk to some of the local and county candidates that are running in tomorrow's election seeking your vote. Now, on this segment on cmpradio.net in Chester, we have always given any candidate or any political official an opportunity to express any concerns or talk to their constituents or talk about the reason why they want to hold certain positions in our beautiful county and in our cities, townships, boroughs, and municipalities. We're going to do the same thing here by giving everybody equal opportunity of airtime to talk about their platforms and their reasons for being here. So, without further ado, I want to introduce some of the local candidates and, of course, the county candidates, starting with Miss Meghan Wagner. How you doing, Meg?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and welcome to cmpradio.net. We're going to get right into what you're here for as Register of Wills, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. To your immediate right is Ms. Laura Wentz. How are you, Laura?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here. I'm Laura Wentz, running for Upper Darby Township Council At-Large, running for re-election.
Absolutely. As the incumbent, she is part of the No Party campaign, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I want to make sure that we put the importance of who's running and where they are. See, Laura's immediate right, we have Mr. Dave Schaffer. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing wonderful, Rich. Thanks for having us.
All right. Dave Schaffer, all-around good guy, all-around DJ for hire, fun, love, and money, all rolled up into one. Dave will be talking about that real soon, all right, my guy?
Absolutely.
All right. To his immediate right, we got my man Brian Burke. Brian Burke, how are you today?
Hey, Rich, I'm great. I really appreciate you having us here today. And second time I've been on CMP Radio. And, Rich, we go back from the time that I became a councilman in Upper Darby, and you are the voice of the people. So thanks for having all of us here today.
Appreciate that. Brian Burke was also council president of Upper Darby Township Council, another area of responsibility. So without further ado, I also want to introduce you to a fresh new candidate for Upper Darby Township in the 1st district, correct? Or the third district. Third. See, I got these one. I got these ones and threes going. So ones and threes.
Think of me as on the ones and twos.
See why they're all friends of mine. So we got Bob Yarantaro
Yes, sir.
and
Third
Bob,
district.
third district, and this is an all new ball game for you, pretty much, isn't it?
Well, I've worked for a lot of politicians, but this is the first time I'm running for a position, not as a politician, but as a public servant. And it's really nice to be here with you, Rich. I've seen you at a lot of the military events throughout the county, and that's why I knew that you were a guy I could trust. So that's why I'm here.
I appreciate that. Listen, folks, one of the most important things that we can do right now is listen to those that are actively seeking your endorsement to lead them for the next several years. And each position here that we have is very critical, not only to the social infrastructure of the direction that we're going as a country, but locally, where we have to make some immediate impacts and changes that we've seen taking us from a different course of action from several years ago to the years that we're moving into right now. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start off my interview real quick with Meghan Wagner. Meghan, very briefly, give me a little bit of your bio. Tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do now currently, and basically why you are running for Register of Wills for Delaware County.
Like I said, my name is Meghan Wagner. I'm 44 years old. I've spent my entire life in Upper Darby. And in career-wise, I began my career as an assistant district attorney. I was there for about 15 years. I was in the primarily the narcotics unit and general trial unit. I went on then to private practice, but at the same time ran for office here in Upper Darby Township. I ended up getting elected as the first district councilwoman. And now I'm seeking the position of Register of Wills to continue my public service because I think it's that important.
Absolutely great. Thank you for that. So now, Laura, let me get your short bio. Tell us who you are, the position that you currently hold, and why folks should consider you as their endorsed individual for that position currently.
Thank you. So I am currently Councilwoman at Large. My background is I'm a theatrical lighting designer and union stagehand. I've taught technical theater since '96 to high school, college, and my union members of my local IATSE Local 8, and I'm also the president of Pennsylvania State CLUE Coalition Labor Union Women. One of the key things within my activism is it is essential to share knowledge. I feel that one of the things that I've done as a councilwoman in Upper Darby is share knowledge. I have, on years that I'm not running for office, I've handed out a newsletter providing information about free smoke detector programs, when council meetings are, important contact information, all kinds of, access to all kinds of upcoming events. I think I handed out about, in 2022, I handed out 8,000 of them, and 2,500 of them was in Stonehurst and Blywood area.
You are absolutely active, Laura. Wow.
And I rescue cats.
And she rescued cats. Dave Schaffer, let's go. Let's hear about you, Dave. You know I know a lot about you, but let's hear from you yourself.
Yeah, so again, as Rich said, Dave Schaffer here running for the 1st District Council seat. Lifelong resident of Upper Darby Township. I grew up on, was actually Lansdowne Post Office, but the Upper Darby side of it on Owen Avenue. Bought my first house off Brenton Road back behind Hillcrest, and now reside on Ormond Avenue in the township in the 1st District. Again, so I've been here all my life, raising my family here, my wife Sarah and my 5 kids. My oldest son, Jake, 26 years old, recently purchased a house in the township. So he's, following in the family tradition. I've got, my sister still lives in the township. So we have deep roots here. Help with the family business, Schaffer Sound Productions, which Richard mentioned earlier, the disc jockey company. Been around now almost 50 years. So it started with my oldest brother. passing it down to my brother John, and now, I'm handling the day-to-day operations in the office there. I've been involved in Upper Darby in many different aspects, whether it's coaching at Drexel Hill Little League, which I had done for about 20 years or so. I knew nothing about soccer, youth soccer, until I was asked to step up when they couldn't find any coaches. Stepped up into that role and finally got a chance to retire from that after we won the championship, with my youngest several years back. So no longer a soccer coach, but still involved with the Little League, getting up there every year. When they do the opening ceremony, you can see me up there providing a sound system and handling things like that. So I've been active in the community in those aspects, for many, many years. And very good friend of Meghan Wagner's here. As she mentioned earlier, she is the current First District Council seat holder. And when she let us know that she was no longer going to be seeking re-election, I felt that was my call at that point to step up because somebody needed to do it. And here I am today, the day before the election, seeking everybody's endorsement. So we do need everybody to get up, get out, and vote.
Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate that. Brian, you're up. Brian Burke, everyone, for Delaware County Council.
Thanks, Rich. Brian Burke, running for Delaware County Council. Been a member of Steamfitters Local 420 since 1986. Father of three. Reside in Drexel Hill of Upper Darby Township. I believe the main thing when I got into politics in 2019 and I won, that wasn't the best thing. In 2021, when Upper Darby Township was dealing with ARPA funds, things were not moving the right direction. So I asked 5 other council people to get together to vote me as the president of council to do the right thing for the residents of Upper Darby. And 2 of them sit here with me today, Megan and Laura, and we did the right thing for Upper Darby Township. So if I can do it in Upper Darby Township, I know I can do it for the county. It's no-nonsense leadership. We're sitting here with Laura Wentz, a no party. I mean, we're about residents. We're about leading. We're not here to say you have to vote R or D, but we're here. You need to vote for the right people this election, and it's the most important because there are parts of Delaware County right now they're not getting represented. Penwood School District, Upper Darby School District will be next, Chester School District. I mean, just look around you. Guys are in trouble, and we need a change here, not only in Upper Darby, but in Delaware County. Thanks for having us here, Rich.
Thanks, Brian. I really do appreciate that intro. So let's come back down here to you, Bobby. Let's get that reintroduction, who you are.
That's District 3 this time.
Yes, right,
Okay,
District 3. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know I'm not going to get it wrong again. But, Bobby, let's hear about you. Let's hear a little bit about your background, the reason why you're running for your position on council as a freshman candidate here in Upper Darby Township.
Well, I moved here when I was about 13 years old. I grew up in Stonehurst. When I first got married, I bought a house in Stonehurst. It's a wonderful neighborhood. It's had some hard times, but then as I moved along in my career, I bought a house in Drexel Hill, and that's the district right now I'm running for in the 3rd district. But when I graduated from Upper Darby High School in the 70s, I went into the military, into 90th Combat Group. I was injured in an explosion, caused some problems. But I got out, I got my stuff together, came on the job myself, and worked with several guys that used to be officers in Upper Darby, like George Rhodes and Brian Duffy. And we were actually working the money train the night in Philadelphia when Danny Faulkner was killed. That's like one of my first things that ever happened to me that was violence against police. But then I moved on, and I left the job. I did I was in one of the professional sports for a few years, and then I came back and I went into the fire academy. I worked for the city of Chester for 1 year full-time, and then another 11 years part-time as a fire paramedic. I went back to police work because, unfortunately, for paramedics and first responders, not a lot of money for them. But from there, I went into the motorcycle unit, the highway patrol. I was an instructor. I for about 12 years, if you were a highway patrolman in Upper Darby, I was your instructor, so I got to know the officers pretty well. And then, I bounced around doing within the police department. I moved up rank, and then I wound up getting transferred to narcotics in the county, working for actually 3 different district attorneys. I'm investigating public corruption, and I actually wound up investigating one of my own commissioners. But I did that, and I did a lot of training for the state police, attorney generals with the Top Gun program for many years. It's an advanced program for people that are prosecuting, a great program for the prosecutors, but also for the state police and the attorney generals, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh police.
I'm a Top Gun graduate.
You did? So I'll tell you right now, they only give about 2 or 3 slots a year for attorney generals, so that, or district attorneys or ADA, so that means something. And then I finished up as the commander of a police department, and the only thing I was doing outside of my county was I was doing a lot of work out of the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks in Vice. So it's always been public service. It wasn't until I retired that I was able to watch a show called Seinfeld, and I was able to get more in touch with my community, which I love. I love Upper Darby. My wife thinks I'm crazy for running. I'm 65 years old, but I'm running for the 3rd district like Dave is, and Laura. You want to vote for us if you want to hold on to what you have. And I'm not talking just about money, but I'm talking about your neighborhood, because when the money goes, it's not going to be a pretty sight. And I mean that. I've seen it happen. I spent 12 years in Chester. I've seen places become depressed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bobby. Now, folks, one of the things that we like to do here at cmpradio.net is talk about qualifications. But as you just heard from each and every individual seated here, I think we can forego that. I really think that everyone spoke about their experience, not only from the community standpoint, but also from a service standpoint. Currently, right now, each individual seated here has the acumen, the age, and the experience for leadership. So what I would like to do in the next couple of minutes of this segment is allow them to speak from the heart with their own words, with the premise on what the position is that they're running for, so that you understand what the position is and why they are the best candidate for the position. We want you to hear what they have to say, as opposed to anyone else saying who they are or what they should be in the eyes or ears of anyone else. This is about fairness in elections and getting the voices of those who are not being heard on a regular basis out here to the regular folks that are asking these regular questions. Who are you? What do you do? And how does that work for me? So, Meghan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As I said, I'm running for Register of Wills here in Delaware County. I've been a practicing attorney now since 2006. I currently work for Zimmelong Law. The Office of the Register of Wills really handles things that are extremely important in people's lives, and I think sometimes it's underrated in the sense that people don't really know what the office is. It deals with everything from probating wills to marriage licenses to something I don't think people realize, but it also oversees orphans court.
Okay, so why is that important that we need to understand about orphans court?
Orphans court is so important because it literally deals with those who cannot help themselves. It deals with children, so it will oversee adoptions. It will also oversee guardianships. It will oversee those who can't fight for themselves, is really what it is. And it's a way in orphans court, it's a way to make somebody's life the life they have may not be very good. It's a way to make it better.
Right.
And that's really what I always wanted to do in public service.
Right.
And I think the office, really, when you look at it from a large picture, it literally could be someone coming in on the very worst day of their life when they are probating a will for their loved one who they're not going to see again,
Right.
all the way to the happiest day of their life when they're getting their marriage license and starting on a new career or a new path in life.
Right.
All of those things are such important events in someone's life that they need to be handled correctly. And by correctly, I mean efficiently, professionally, but also because of how sensitive these situations can be, with compassion.
So this position of Register of Wills is an integrity position.
Absolutely.
Okay, because the public trust, basically you hold life and death in people's hands, and the circle of life for those who cannot help themselves, like you said, orphans and those who need guardianship for whatever reason. So you're running to keep this key position stable for Delaware County taxpayers, citizens, and residents, so that they ensure that the business that they conduct here is done with a certain dignity, of respect, and by someone that they trust will make sure that this department stays the way that it does.
Absolutely. And I think that my experience in the courtroom and those that I've represented over the years is exactly what is needed in that office. I have my professional experience, practicing experience, first of all, far outweighs my opponents. And I think that I've represented everyone from victims of crime to defending people charged with crimes to make sure that their constitutional rights are met and that they're being treated fairly. I've represented people actually trying to get guardianship of their child in very bad situations where the child was in an abusive situation and the grandparents wanted to get that child out and get custody. I was able to represent them in that. And it's something that makes me feel fulfilled.
Right.
And it's something that I could really put my heart into. And that's
Right.
what I've done with everything, my entire career, is putting my heart into everything I've done.
Now you're seeking the vote countywide,
Yes.
okay? And here at cmpradio.net, the voice of Chester, on this radio program, the Wonderful World of Rich Blye, we've been focusing on why anyone wants, that vote, particularly in Chester. What would you have to say to those in Chester? How have you, in the past, and if so, contributed to helping residents, taxpayers of Chester specifically, not in a official position, but in your professional position as an attorney?
I've on both sides, frankly. I know Chester. I go to Chester frequently. I've prosecuted cases where victims were affected in Chester, but I've also represented a lot of people charged with crimes in Chester. I intentionally went on the court appointment list to represent people, especially in Chester, who can't pay to represent or find representation. One particular client, I obviously won't mention his name, but he was involved in a bad situation. He was looking at a lot of time, and I was court appointed to represent him. And he actually became one of my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
And during
I won't say his name, but I know who that person is.
And in the 2 years that this case went on, because it did, I was able to work with him, and he went from being an 18-year-old who had absolutely no direction, vision, or hope, to 2 years later, completely off the monitor, had a job, and became a functioning member of society. And that made me feel so good to know that. I still keep in contact with him, even though his case is over. And he's just an example of other people I've represented down there. I actually, again, I won't say her name, but I saw a former client of mine in media recently. She came up, she gave me a huge hug, and she said, "Thank you for saving my life." And I knew exactly who she was right away. I said, "You look far better than I've ever seen you look." And that's why I do what I do. You don't really get paid much for court appointments, but
Right.
it does make you feel, makes you feel like you're making a
Right.
difference.
So that's the one thing that I wanted to break down, folks, is that when we hear certain official titles of folks, when we hear certain things like attorney at law, we thinking that, these are guys making big bucks every case. We're looking at news or television programs, and we think this person is driving around in big cars and spending all this lavish money, whatever. Meghan is someone, and I need to say this personally, that has called upon me, and I've called upon her in certain situations where people have needed legal representation and have not charged me a dime. Okay? So one of the reasons why I want to express to folks in Chester is that a lot of times when you see certain faces in certain situations, you don't know the backstory of these folks. And this is why we're bringing this to the forefront, because there are a lot of people that have love for Chester, but Chester also has to understand that everybody in Chester has to have love for folks that maybe don't live in Chester, but has Chester's best interest. So from this perspective and point of view, I want to thank you, Meghan, for absolutely bringing what the Register of Will does, because I had no idea about Orphans Court.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, that to me says a lot, because I know of a young man who was an orphan and went through that process, and he's a great father now. But he went through some stuff as an orphan, and I didn't realize that you hold, or people like you in that position hold their life in their hands.
Yeah.
And I know this, he's a grown man now, but so yes, it's an integrity position.
Absolutely.
So we're going to skip over and we're going to go right down to Mr. Brian Burke. Mr. Brian Burke is running for Delaware County Council after being here in Upper Darby Township Council. Brian, tell us about the position that you're running for and why you would be the best person for this position.
So, Rich, I'm running for county council. My name is Brian Burke. I'm originally from Lansdowne, one of 8. I believe what I've done in Upper Darby, working with council people in Upper Darby to pass budgets, to go 11-0 vote on a lot of ordinances, to do the right thing for the residents. Because I represented Upper Darby at that time. Even though I lived in Drexel Hill in the 1st District, I represented all of Upper Darby. As I said, I'm one of 8. I have a brother in Havertown. I have a sister that lives in Springfield, a brother that lives in Brookhaven. My parents still live in Lansdowne since 1962. So if I'm elected, I might not have anybody in Chester or Alden, but I'm representing 7 brothers and sisters that live in Delaware County, and their friends and their neighbors and their property values. So I am representing all of Delaware County because of my family. So my vote's going to make, with my family and the rest of the people in Delaware County, not to my party or not to the people that pay the party that I'm part of, like the Democrats that are in the administration now. They're held to a higher standard with the amount of money that has come in from law firms. Council now, in this administration, has overly spent and raised our taxes over 30, 40%. And they won't even talk about what next year's budget is till after tomorrow.
Now, I'm going to segue. I'm going to go back real quick, because I want to talk about these solicitors. I want to talk about these attorney fees, because this is happening not only in Upper Darby Township, this is happening all over Delco and on council, where there has been crazy spending on attorney fees in the millions of dollars. Now, I know that everybody here at this table understands what I'm talking about locally with the amount of attorney fees that have been spent with us battling the ARPA funds with the Super 6, okay, which 3 of the members are here right now, and we'll explain that in a minute. But let's talk about these attorney fees with these solicitors and how instrumental they are in getting certain laws and ordinances passed that don't adhere to what our residents and constituents want.
So, Rich, the number one fact on the attorney's fees and the money funding into the current administration is the, basically the corruption of departments that the health department that they opened up. The health department cost the taxpayers $19 million. Now, the health department does not exist throughout the whole county. Hereford doesn't have one. I believe there's 5 or 6 that don't have a health department covered underneath the county. Upper Darby voted to have the county run our health department. They inspect our restaurants, they inspect our stores and stuff like that. But the problem is when those other boroughs fought the county, not only did the county lose once, the solicitor that funded Upper Darby, the solicitor that funded the county for people to run, said, let's fight it again in another court. And they lost it again. Ridley, Haverford, Springfield. They have their own people.
I think Essington as well, right?
What's that?
Essington as well?
I believe it's Essington.
Yes.
So there's 5 or 6 that won in the court case. But those solicitors said to county council, let's fight it. We're going to win. To the tune of $19 million of health department. That's our money. We need that money for our state police, our police, for our courts. They decided to take out, in 2019, under the last administration, outside the law firms was $400,000.
Right.
In 2021, 2023, the outside law firms coming in, over $3 million. I think it's at $4.5 million right now.
That's what I read this morning.
I mean, that is, residents of Delaware County, that is your money.
Yes.
That's why your taxes are getting, raised. They implemented $6 or $7 million to last year's budget of ARPA. Where are they going to get the $6 to $7 million next year for a budget that keeps on growing?
Now,
We can't even get tasers for our parks police.
Brian, now I'm trying to understand this because a lot of people, I really don't think they really understand the impact that the ARPA funding has had, as well as the opioid settlement money that Delaware County has had its grips into. We're talking about, for folks who don't understand or don't want to believe, Delaware County had $53 million in a surplus in 2019. We had a surplus. And then magically in a year, we start climbing to these deficits. And the projections start trending towards more spending and less revenue, because while we're in the state of COVID pretty much, but also with the spending increases, it's questionable spending, okay? It's not so much that we're not spending to keep the county and our township running. It was questionable spending. So on county council that you're running for, what is some of the questionable spendings that you've seen happen, and why you're running to stop some of that questionable spending?
Well, number one is the health department. Number 2 is the prison. As Meghan said before, she's a lawyer. She doesn't do her plumbing work at home. She hires a plumber. We have lawyers on county council right now, and they think they can run a prison. It costs 2 times as much as it did in 2019. Where are we getting the money? You know what? That's right. The current administration, not only at the county, but just like Upper Darby, they believe that they can just say, let's open a checkbook. It's no big deal. It's hurting. It's absolutely hurting. It's hurting in Upper Darby by, Laura, I believe it was $10 million, the budget this year. Look at Penwood School District.
So what's going
Article in the paper, Penwood School District. They might not have class come January 1st.
So let's talk about that, because county council does have an involvement with the school districts, right? They do have a relationship with it. We're talking about Penwood School District in Lansdowne. It's a predominantly black school district. It has great programs in the schools and great teachers. And I understand the Harrisburg part of it, okay? And we can get into that. But what is going on locally with the spending at this administration with the school district, from your observation running as a candidate for Delaware County Council?
My observation, I didn't hear anything from the state reps. Same group of people, the state reps. Where's the money coming in? But you can't keep bringing money in from Harrisburg and expect the people in your school districts to say, we got to cut or stop spending. I have a very good friend. She lives in Broomall. She teaches there. About 4 months ago, she's worried. Not only is she worried, she has 3 children. She's worried. What's going to happen when she goes to the doctors? What happens when she's, just goes for a regular checkup? Is she going to have insurance? Now the big picture is school districts. Hereford school teachers, no contract. Upper Darby Police, no contract. There's a common thing here. Delaware County, run by the Democrats. Hereford School District, I believe they have the upper hand. Upper Darby, they have the upper hand. What's going on here? Nobody's talking about the hard questions. Get the answers. I believe when I was on council, we removed a CAO, a mayor, and an acting CAO.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as you
And a solicitor.
and a solicitor,
Yeah.
because you referred to, not that the three of us would ever refer to as the Super Six, but you referred to the Super Six because the six of us stuck together for the residents of Upper Darby. And Dave and Bobby, they're sitting with us right now. They believed in the three of us. That's why they're sitting with us. And Crystal, unfortunately, she's not here with us today.
Right.
But that's why we're a part of people that care. But the administration in a lot of these towns and boroughs are saying, the money tree's in the backyard, let's just go get it. There is no money tree. There has never been a money tree. You got to draw the line. You got to ask the hard questions. Yes, we want to give everything we can to our teachers, our policemen, and our firemen. But guess what? You have to pay for it. You can't just turn around and say, let's raise taxes. My opponent, Richard Womack, right now, was in charge of, coming out with a task force about, taxes. It was a budget task force. Mr. Womack has not even come to the table with the task force, but they're going to tell us what's going to happen after Tuesday. My belief, taxpayers are going to pay another 23 to 30% in Delaware County. If you make the right choice, I'll try to stop that or lower that. But my firm belief is all the other boroughs and towns in in Delaware County are taking 0.5% or 1% earned income tax, which is going to go in effect of Upper Darby, which is going to hurt a lot of businesses and a lot of residents in Upper Darby. But here's the problem. How's the county get more money? Raise your taxes. They keep raising their taxes. What's going to happen? I believe they're going to come up with a special tax. I think the county already did come up with a special tax or increase the tax about your license or something. So I'm not 100% sure. My thing is I'm going to fight for Delaware County residents. I'm going to ask the hard questions, and I'm going to get the answers for the residents. And if you vote tomorrow, and you vote whatever way you vote, you're going to get what you get.
Right.
And the way we've been voting for the last 6 years in Delaware County, you've gotten what you've voted for. So I think it's time to make a change, not in Delaware County, but in all your towns, in all your school boards. It's very important to hold your elected officials, their feet to the fire, and ask those questions. And you need to get involved.
Right.
You need to get involved.
And Brian, I'm glad that you say that because the movement that we see and that I see in cmpradio.net, like we were the ones that brought this challenge of who are you voting for? Who are you? We brought this up over about a month ago. And this is what we're doing because the status quo of voting should be over. If anything that COVID has taught us, in my opinion, is that the status quo of voting should be over in every community, white communities, black communities, voting straight red, voting straight Democrat, whatever. It has not gotten us anywhere. It's a very unsuccessful model. We need to know who represents you. Do they have your best interests? Do they share the same ideals that you have as far as basic overall common sense living in your communities? Are you getting the services that these folks who are in the seats, are they providing the services for you, and at what frequency? Only when they feel like doling out to you, or when they know an election is coming up and they got to put on a show? So we've been talking about ARPA, and I'm going to go right to Laura Wentz, who is running for re-election as an incumbent in the No Party campaign. Laura Wentz, good to see you and talk to you again. Let's tell the folks about why you're running while you are continuing your run here at Upper Darby Township Council.
Thank you. I've been on council since 2018. I was on council for 2 years when Don Burnett was the president of council. And then in 2020, I was I did become council president for 2 years. And there are a bunch of changes that I made, with the help of council, to change the way some things were done, improve some things, and I learned from everyone around me. Right? We always have something to learn and something to teach. I find so certain changes that happened were making sure that ordinances were in written document form for the first Wednesday of the month, so that everyone had a chance to read it before it was presented at the third Wednesday of the month for a public hearing and so forth. So if there was any amendments we needed to make on it, we had the opportunity to make those amendments on the first meeting. I found that it was really important for everyone to have a voice in their laws and their local government, and that was one of the ways to make that possible. I think that for me, and one of your questions were, what does Council at Large do?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So as far as Council at Large, we represent everyone. Anyone in the township, business owner, resident, whoever's here, we represent you.
So, Laura, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want people to understand for context. You have council people or councilors in a district.
You have district council members, and then you have 4 council at large.
Okay.
So each district, 1 through 7, has their own council person representing them, and there's 4 at-large council people. So one of the changes that I also made when I was president of council was that I asked if any at-large council member was speaking to a constituent, right, in any district, that if they sent in an email, they tagged the at-large council members and the district council person, right?
Right.
That way, the resident would have, 5 people on council fighting for them to accomplish whatever their concerns were, right? The more who know what's going on, always have witnesses, the better chance we can accomplish something. There's more of us to check in on it.
Right.
And that, as 2020 went on, became more and more important. It was essential for us to have witnesses on conversations with certain members of the administration. And so therefore, it was a safety mechanism. It also, in the more recent years, I find that residents have been, in the last year or two, they've been reaching out to their district council members, and 6 months go by and they don't get any help.
Right.
And this is not, I'm not talking about Councilwoman Wagner or Councilman Andrusko, or I haven't run into that much in their districts, but the other districts, residents find me and I either answer their question within 2 minutes, or I get them started in the right direction and have an answer for them in 24 hours.
And Laura, not to cut you off again, and that's the most important thing that I've always talked about here at Upper Darby Township, is that I have this firm faith that at-larges actually make the most impact, because, and this is just a description, it's not what they actually do. I look at larges as lieutenant mayors, okay? I look at them that they can listen to anybody, anywhere, that they can report back to a larger group of people, and that they can make impact quicker, because like she said, there's 5 sets of eyes on the problem. There's 5 brains connected to the situation. So, if one person doesn't have it, maybe 2 people over here do, and then the person who's the district commissioner or district council person can introduce themselves and say, hey, Laura Wentz spoke to me. I'm your person. Here's your answer. Here's your situation. That type of fluid governance is what a lot of people, and I've come across this in Upper Darby because we've been flipped so many different times through COVID, where people are not from here, but they're from cities, or they're from other areas where they don't understand what their elected officials did where they came from. So when you come here, you bring the same set of same mindset of how it worked there, and that's not how it works. Right. So understanding your township and understanding how it works and understanding the people involved in it is part of the critical process of you casting your vote. The people who know run your government efficiently because they're qualified to do it. Laura, but let's get into this ARPA thing because you were central in basically talking about a lot of the corruption that came from out of Upper Darby with the ARPA funds. Can, again, for those who don't know, explain what ARPA means, what it was supposed to do, and what didn't happen?
So ARPA is American Rescue Plan funds. Every cities and municipalities, boroughs, counties throughout the country receive these funds. It was to help them deal with when we were in shutdown because of the COVID pandemic, to allow them to be able to keep running and to be able to use the funds for improving quality of life for the residents, whether it's fixing parks, funds for the police, the fire, for infrastructure, so that as funds had disappeared during the times of the shutdown, the municipalities and county, whoever received the funds, could continue to function, and the residents didn't have to pay the bill, especially since they had no money coming in because most people weren't working. So when I was president, actually flip around, when Brian Burke was president, I was his vice president. And I was the chair of the finance committee. And also flip back to when I was president, one of the things that I did implement was a treasurer's report. And for while I was president of council and while Brian was president of council, we had a treasurer's report for 4 years. And the treasurer looked at everything, tracked everything. When the ARPA funds came in, was tracking what was happening with that. And in February 2nd of 2022 is when he gives his treasurer's report, and there was $6.4 million missing from where the ARPA funds had been.
Say that again. How much was missing?
It was six at the time. $6.4 million, and did not understand where that had gone. And if you want to, and don't take our word for it, watch the YouTube version of the February 2nd. I think there's a YouTube, February 2nd, 2022, you will discover that is when we found out how far off the funds were for 2021. So basically as Brian had mentioned, 6 of us came together on council. At the time, I was a Democrat. 3 Dems, 3 Rs worked together. We took control of council. We launched an investigation into mishandling of the ARPA funds, and that was the special report on September 14th of 2022, the Boggs report. That gives you a full layout. The instructions we gave Boggs was follow the money. Look at every single bank account. Look at every transaction. Where did the money go? That's what we wanted to know. And he found it. Right. And in the course of the investigation, they did track things down, and it came the number. They went with the more conservative number of 4.2 million had been spent in December of 2021, and then another 1 million in January of 2022, which we did not know in February. The other key thing is, at the time in February 2nd meeting, we had a window where the treasurer says, "Hey, I'm not sure where these funds went," and the administration had the chance to say, "You're right. We made a mistake. Right? Let's fix it. Right?" But that's not what they did. They said, "No, we didn't do it." And then they did. And then the CEO at the time does this math, and he says, "Look, we have, based on all of our accounts, we have 2 million."
Now hold on a second,
left.
Laura. This is important. This is important.
I think it was 2 million, right?
So we're missing 6, then we're missing 4.
Well,
They also said there was confusion.
And there was confusion. So I mean, like, no matter what the number is,
right.
the CAO at the time Vince Ragione, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to say it because I understand, hey, he's running for Register of Wills. I don't care. This is me personally speaking. I have my opinion on my show. Here's an individual, okay? Like I said, everything ties in to integrity. Everything ties into integrity. Here's a person who was RCAO in Upper Darby Township. There is proven missing funds. Proven, correct? Proven. That's what the report was for.
The report said that it had been spent on township finances.
It's spent on time.
On the bills in December.
See,
Everyday operations.
So here's what I'm getting to.
Right, without council approval, which is the key thing.
Right, because I sat in with these meetings as well.
Right.
There were allocations without council approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's theft.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
You can color up any word that you want to. Taking something without permission, Bobby, is theft, right?
Sure is.
All day. So let's keep it short and simple because see a lot of people, and like I said, they're watching in Chester, they're watching here in Upper Darby Township, and they see how we have a council that waffles over words, that glazes over stuff without it being common sense. If we're the common sense party, if we're the common sense people, and we're trying to reach people with common sense, they want to hear it exactly the way that it is. These individuals improperly took money, whether they spent it on services or not. They did not notify you as council. They did not notify the people with their money, and they decided to do this on their own and then turn around and say, we made a mistake. So,
No, they didn't say they
never
made a
said that.
mistake.
Okay,
They
okay,
said,
there you go.
they
That's what I'm
said we
talking
didn't-
about.
They said that we didn't do this, and in a 5-day window between February 2nd and February 7th, when they had to have an emergency meeting, because on February 2nd, we as council did not approve their $12 million lost revenue ARPA ordinance, which they had expected us to. And as a result, they had an oh crap moment the next day, realizing that they weren't going to be able to pay their bills and pay the employees. So they had to have an emergency meeting on the 7th of February. And in those 5 days, they made the 6.4 million reappear. Now you ask, how did they do that, right? And that's also laid out in the Boggs report. And one of the things is they took money from funds that were not taxpayer dollar funds. They were restricted. Restricted funds that fall under fire escrow. So your house gets caught on fire, and 10% of that escrow, your insurance payment gets given to the township to be held in escrow. They took some of those funds
Now hold on a second now, because this is the heat of the matter.
to
I
make
believe
ARPA reappear.
this is the heat of the matter that I believe that's in every township, municipality,
this is
borough,
in my
and,
opinion.
and this is
it's
my
right.
opinion as well. Okay, because I've been at the meetings. I've heard Laura. I've heard you speak. I've heard you be the champion of bringing things to light. I've heard Meghan speak, being the champion of light. I've heard you bring things to light, and everyone else that stood up and said, "Hey, as citizens and residents, we're not going to do that." What I'm trying to get at for the folks that are watching and the folks that are trying to understand, this is going on in every township, municipality, and borough since the beginning of COVID, has it not?
In my opinion, I believe it's
Hold on.
And I mean, it's very hard to run a borough, a school district, a township, during COVID and after COVID. But the residents, taxpayers, all have to stand up and ask these hard questions. And if we don't, then, it's your fault that you don't ask the hard questions.
Thank you.
Because if you don't, we went from having X amount of people watching us on Zoom. When we were in COVID, I was in my basement. Laura was running a meeting at her kitchen table. To going back to these meetings, and if it wasn't for, I'll say a handful of 8, 10, Rich, you included, John and John, the three sisters, the residents, and not only the residents, how about the workers of Upper Darby Township not knowing what's going on?
True.
COVID, COVID gate, trash gate, whatever you want to call what went down in all these boroughs and townships. You got to keep asking questions and hold the elected officials accountable.
Brian, how about when I asked the initial $25.2 million that was deposited, which would have come in August of 2021, correct? When I asked where that was deposited, I was straight up told there was confusion about where $25.2 million was deposited.
I mean, Megan, you're 100% right, but here's another thing. We were allowed to collect interest on that $25.2 million. The school districts, everybody was allowed to collect interest. We have liabilities to pay back contracts that we have with our workers about their pensions. We have liabilities that we have to pay down on their. This past administration in Upper Darby took that money and put it in their operation instead of paying down things that they had to pay down. They deceived the township workers, in my eyes.
Made them scared.
They made them scared. They actually turned against me because some other people said that I wasn't for them. Listen, I want my trash picked up every week.
Right.
You know, I want, when 911's called at my neighbor's house, I want them to respond. I'm not knocking our workers, our township workers. They do the best they can with the money they're allowed by the administration.
They're great.
But here's the biggest problem. You can't come in and run Upper Darby Township and continue to give other people's $5, $10, $15, $20,000 raises without taking care of the people that take care of you, or $30,000 raises.
And I want to ask
For
that.
non-bargaining.
I want to ask that of you, Laura. You're sitting on council, and of course you too, Megan. You know, you're sitting on council. What's going through your mind when you're watching people unqualified, unproven, unqualified? When I say unproven, unqualified, because there's a track record of you leaving this job, and leaving this job, and leaving this job, and leaving this job. And I've hired people, and I disqualified people because they have a track record where they job hunt, they job jump. They leave here, work here 2 years, take your resources, go someplace else or whatever. How does it feel from a standpoint where you stood in the opposition of the CAO getting this raise that he's gotten? How much is this man is working? And in your opinion, how much work is he doing on behalf where you feel comfortable, where you feel comfortable that you can represent for your community based upon the decisions that he's making at the pay rate that he's getting?
Speaking of the current CAO.
Yes, the current one.
Just to clarify.
Yes, the current one. Because we know about the old CAO. I'm going to come back to you in a minute.
No worries.
All right.
I mean, it's pretty much mind-boggling. Prior CAOs made 150. I think Judge was making 150.
140, 150, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So he'd been in that position for 20 years, 15 years.
Forever.
And he, so I think it is outrageous that the current CAO, in order to bring him in, he had to be bumped up to 191,000 plus benefits. Now, granted, in the Home Rule Charter, council benefits are based on CAO benefits. Whatever the CAO gets, elected officials get.
Right.
Let me clarify. Elected officials get. So, but the reality is, we on council, I'm getting $5,000. It's a stipend.
Right.
Right? Everyone on council gets $5,000. And our benefits are equal to is the same as the CAOs, right? They brought in brand new department heads and gave them an extra $30,000. They brought in so many, and other departments that used to run on 2 people now are 4, and they want to make it 5 people, and they're not represented by a union. And where there's OPIU represents the workers inside the township buildings and other offices. In 2019, when they were formed, there was 119 members in the local. After the former CAO got through with them, they were down to 75, maybe 50 members. And there are people that are being brought in that could land in their union, but they're being given titles that takes them out of the union,
Right.
which means there's no representation. And at a much higher wage, or all the code enforcement officers were originally were represented by a union, and then they were all taken out. So it's very concerning. And also when in the past they have messed up the wages, the salaries for the workers. So there's so many levels of mistreatment of our workers. Workers who have been pushed out. Their vacation days or paid sick days that they've accumulated, they're being denied. So I know you have more.
Just because to your question, Rich, how do we sit there and watch these people with these and I will call them extravagant salaries at this point. It quite simply put, it's gut wrenching. Because to couple that with the salary, they're not from here.
Right.
And
so there's no return on the investment with what we pay out.
Exactly. And that's what upsets me the most is that they're not from here. They don't know Upper Darby. They don't know Delaware County. They're getting paid extravagant salaries, and they're running Upper Darby into the ground. And that's what kills me.
And I want to segue into this because, Dave, you're a businessman, and a successful one at that. Like you said, your family got started with this business over 50 years ago. You're local. You have name recognition. You do for the community. You're a father. You're a husband. You're somebody that would literally give the shirt off your back for anybody, because I know this for a fact. I know your compassion when I had my trauma and things that I went through with the deaths that I did. Everybody here at this table, by the way, has had that. But what I'm saying specifically for Dave, how does this impact you as a business from a business standpoint? I think that you right now are one of the most qualified people to talk about how these things impact you, and I think that this is the basis for you running.
Well, from a business standpoint, my business is located in media, so it's not
right.
Nothing in Upper Darby affects what I'm doing on my day-to-day, but in talking to other business owners that do have businesses in Upper Darby Township,
right,
and then even into trying to lure other businesses to come to Upper Darby Township, what they're doing is making it very difficult. This earned income tax that they just passed, that's going to go into effect in January, I know for a fact, 2 friends of mine that are business owners that had businesses in this township have relocated to other townships that do not have the earned income tax. So that right there is that should be the writing on the wall for them to look at it and say, hey, maybe we need to rethink this and do something a little bit differently, because.
So you see the empty spaces, I call it the jagged teeth of Upper Darby, from 69th Street. I just got word that the Studio Movie Grill is opening back up. So we're getting, that's good news. You know what I mean? We get a blessing to get that movie theater to come back open, especially since I work there. And then, and I put a lot of work into that building, and shout out to Tom McCosey for originally bringing that business into 69th Street and filling that corridor up. We've lost a lot of business, in our corridor, and you've seen it on lives. You've seen it in videos. The depletion, the way that 69th Street has been depleted, the drug selling that's in that community. I know that it's not in your area, but a lot of folks from your area used to come down to the tower.
Right.
A lot of folks in your area have the nostalgia of shopping on 69th Street. A lot of folks in your area would love to patronize businesses on this side, but because of what they see with the crime, the lack of resources for the unhoused and for the the substance abuse, which has been waning, that Recovery Without Barriers and myself, we've been down there, whatever. What is your plan to help bring these issues to a bigger, better light, where we're not just kicking the can down the road like it came from Norristown and other places?
Well, I think that the number one thing is business redevelopment of 69th Street. We need to bring more business back to this side of the township. Growing up at Upper Darby, although I went to St. Andrews as a child, that was my grade school. Our church was always St. Alice. That was just where my mother had always wanted us, to go for mass. So every Sunday we would come down here to St. Alice,
right,
and take a walk down 69th Street,
right.
And we visit Kresge's. We get our pretzel.
Mm-hmm.
They had that little stand there where you could catch goldfish. It was a big family friendly area,
Right.
and it was just thriving. The Woolworth was another place that we used to go to all the time, and all these businesses are just long gone.
Right.
And we have to find a way to bring more business back and stop taxing the people.
Right. Now I'm against it because, like I said, from a business standpoint, but I want to now ask you from where you see your place in your community. We know that Upper Darby is very diverse. We know that we have lots of different people everywhere. Okay. For a lot of folks who are seeing you and everybody here at this table, they're going to look at skin color. They're going to look at gender. They're going to look at these things. And we here at cmpradio.net, we address the issues because these are sometimes uncomfortable conversations that have to be had. What would you say to someone who doesn't look like you or maybe not have the same set of circumstances as you, why you should represent them?
With, just look at my business.
Right.
I'm in the entertainment world.
Okay.
I'm a man of the people.
There you
My
go.
job is to bring people together.
There you go.
Every day that for every event that I go to, every wedding, every even bar, gig that I do.
Right.
When I came here to do a music bingo when Lisa needed help,
Right.
and teamed up with Meghan to throw that event down here, to raise money for this post.
Right.
We bring people together, and that's what I do, and that's what I want to do. I don't see it as black and white. I see it as Upper Darby.
I
and
appreciate
what is best. What is best for this township?
Right, because here's the thing, and I'm going to slide right off of you and come right over here to Bobby because race has been interjected into the politics when it was not happening from the time that everybody announced their candidacy. And one of the reasons why I especially invited each and every one of you here is because each and every one of you, first of all, are very good, dear friends of mine. Number one, and I want people to understand that. Okay. Number two, I'm a person that comes from a desegregation background. I'm a person that understands real racism. I'm a person that understands not having and not getting, but also achieving. But I'm also a person that has been on both the wrong side of the law and the right side of the law. I'm on the right side now because, as you can see, I got on the right side, my guy Bobby. Okay, so Bobby,
I started on the wrong side. Believe me.
And so Bobby, tell the folks, why are you running, and your understanding of the position that you're holding that you want to give to the people here in the third.
Okay, you were finishing up with you finished up your speaking on with racism.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because again, I'm segueing into that, and I want to get to this because race has been an issue ever since 2018. Okay, and there's no getting away from it. It's no getting past the fact that people have voted certain positions based upon race, or there have been accusations or things made racially against very good people. And like I said, one of the reasons why I'm having this conversation is because of you, Bobby, is because of some of the things that have been said about you personally, about your family. And, I know that you have been a person that's been out on the street, that you've knocked on doors. You've had some doors closed in your face. You had some doors open or whatever. But in my opinion, and everybody here at the table, as a rookie candidate, you've run a very clean campaign. Like one of the cleanest I've seen in a long time.
Thank you. I tried.
You know what I mean? So I want you to explain how, in this race where you're making impact in your community, where you're bringing, solid common sense questions and answers for folks, how this tinge, affected you and how it's driving you to work harder.
Sure. Well, if I'm speaking here, it's all public record. I talked about my history, work with the state police, and all that other stuff. Okay. Well, I'm going to speak right now, and I'm going to name some names. Okay.
Yes, sir.
When I first got married, when I was with Frazier, when I first got married, I lived at 7036 Terminal Square, second floor, one bedroom. Slept on a mattress on the floor, myself, my wife at the time, and my young daughter, who's now stepdaughter, who's now 54 years old. So it's going back a little bit, okay? And they were of color. Well, after I stopped fighting, I went into the fire academy and became a paramedic. So we had some money. So we moved out, and in Stonehurst, I moved into Ruskin Lane, 7082 Ruskin, right there at Ruskin and Millbank. And with my wife and my stepdaughter, like I say, of color. And the first thing that greeted us, and this is a police report, was a cross. Now, I'm a white boy. They were not. We were the first. We were the first color of anything in Stonehurst. Just as a fact. My neighbor at the time was a young cop, Paparo. He was that chief over there in Yeadon. Okay, so that was a fact. And unfortunately, my stepdaughter, there were incidents. Okay, so it's like, you know what, we got a little more money, we're going to move. So we decided to move to 300 Charles Avenue, right there, beautiful house. Went inside there with a kid and the wife, and we fell in love with it. So our realtor, Emily Marks from Baird and Bird, we signed the papers to buy the house. The next day, okay, and now you have to understand, at this time I'm now a cop. I'm actually a cop in Yeadon. And I go ahead and I get a phone call, and they tell me, Emily said, we can't sell you the house. What do you mean? I said, we make great money. Well, I mean, enough money to afford it. He said, no, you don't understand. We've received phone calls that if they go ahead and sell us the house, they will burn down the house, the neighbors will burn down the house, and they will burn down your business. All right? This is all in police reports, because I contacted Upper Darby Police, and I talked to Lieutenant Bratsis, and Lieutenant Bratsis tells me, and to this day, I have no idea where he said that. I told him, I said, listen, I might have stopped by headquarters. I said, listen, I said, Bobby Yarantaro, I'm a policeman in the Yeadon, blah, blah, blah. And here's what happened. And you know what he told me?
What did he tell you?
That J.O., you know what he said to me? He goes, well, you should have known better. That's what he told me. So I contacted Lieutenant Gordon, one of the finest men on the face of the earth. Both of his kids are cops. One's a homicide detective. Another one's with Customs, who I worked with both over the years. And he said, you know what? He goes, Bobby, that's not right. He goes, if you need anything, we're here for you. We're here for you. Well, guess what? We decided we're not going to take that chance. Okay? So then, so we never moved. Eventually things happened, but so that's my foray into that.
And can I say something about it? I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to say this because, again, when people see you, they don't really know you, and they would absolutely underestimate you or make the wrong assumption because they didn't take the opportunity to say, hello, who are you? And that's the reason why we're having this, because I was highly offended because I understood your background. I understood it well. And that's why one of the reasons that made me want to, do this personally. This is a personal show, folks. This is not something where I'm doing it on the behest of the Republican Party, GOP Party, or anybody. This is a me one. Because, again, I see a great man who is a freshman candidate who wanted to do and make some impact in his community with people that are like him, people who are like-minded like him, and then in the middle of this race that has been relatively clean, amazingly, the first time in many years that there really hasn't been any mudslinging in Delaware County, because you don't have no money, because that got taken. I'm telling the truth. Here's a man who's running on behalf of what we keep asking for our residents to be. Part of the community, engage the community, honest, truthful, have a background, be strong enough to stand up, say no, lend a helping hand, So Bobby, like, you see the high school violence, you see a lot of the destructive ways of some of our teens that are unsupervised. And my brother Brian Taylor was huge on talking about that.
God bless him.
You know what I mean?
Good kid. Good kid. Yeah. No, well, the thing is, and you know this because when I left the police department, I was approached by a sergeant and a captain that had recently retired from Upper Darby. And they knew my position of running a department. They asked me to come in and take over the security for the high school.
Yes.
Took over first platoon, which had like monitors and like I think like 40 or 45 security guards. And we had a lot of, violence. Off the charts. I've never seen anything like it. Okay. I mean, like even Chester's much more well behaved than the kids in Upper Darby. But it's a very permissive attitude, and they've raised some people up there in the school district to their level of incompetence. And I came to them with problems because the school district where this is happening, state and land zone. This is my district. Okay. We have people that one of the big things is, what are you going to do about it? People are not safe to go to Bond Shopping Center.
Right.
And I came to a couple of administrators on how that could be fixed. Real simple. And it's real simple. When you have this activity and the violence going on in the school is even worse than what we've seen out on the street. You identify them.
Yes.
You find out where they live.
Yes.
All right. And confirm where they live, and then they're removed. And then as soon as the other kids start seeing, Steve not there, they're going to realize, oh, you know what? And it'll spread like wildfire. And that stuff will come to an end because the few that are being looked at that are violent and disruptive are destroying it for the rest of the kids. I mean, it boggles the mind. But the school district, so the school district says, well, out there on the street, that's not our responsibility. Only what happens in the school. Well, guess what? That's bull. Because what do we have? Crossing guards. Where are the crossing guards? They're not in the, there's crossing, and the school buses, and the violence on the school buses. God bless those people. I could never do it. I could never have my back to some of these children that are just out of control. Out of control. So that was one of the big things there, and the school district has to realize, hey, listen, we are responsible for these kids until they get home. Right. From when they leave until they go home. If they want to wash their hands from.
Yeah,
but I'm not running for school district.
Right. But Bobby, like you said, this is in a district that you will be, the councilman in, and you would think that as the council person in that district, that the school district and the school board would want to work together for effective ways to combat some of the violence that happens. Because from what we've seen in Upper Darby High and even at the middle school, it starts off small. It always starts off with small. It's always one or two things. And for anybody listening, I sent my kids from the K Center all the way through, okay? I didn't cheat when I came to Upper Darby, okay? I made sure that I had a residence. I made sure that I was paying into the taxes where I live before I enrolled my kids in the school. And I find that to be very important. I know people say education, education, education. But again, once again, who's going to pay for it? We're overwhelmed, and we see the behaviors of our household. Do you think that when you become elected, that there can be some type of move to engage our council and our mayor to instantaneously, when the school district, when school ends, to go right into a curfew situation for the summer to bring down some of the violence that we see or some of the unruly behaviors that we've had over the past couple of years? Do you think that would be effective in enforcing a curfew on the teens?
Well, it'd be highly effective, but the thing is, you'd have to have council want to see this enforced, which I don't see that happening. Within the police department, they're overwhelmed.
Right.
Besides a curfew, I think the biggest thing is accountability for these kids. They have to be picked up, they have to be identified, and if they don't live here, they're removed, or if they do live here, they are charged. They go through the system. I mean, I'm not your average candidate, okay?
Right.
I mean, I've been up a world, which is a little different than most. That's it. And I tell you, if the school district doesn't want to get involved, the state and Lansdowne, all right, And I do believe that the security guards that work at the Upper Darby High School, okay, even though they don't have the police powers there, that's part of their, those children are their responsibility. And I know because they worked for me for 2 years. They have some great guards.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and if they won't do it, not that I will never take the law into my own hands,
Right.
but I can guarantee you, I will be down there at State and Lansdowne, and it will all be recorded. And the people that need to be held accountable that aren't doing anything about it,
That's
I will have a platform.
That's what I'm talking about, Bobby. So Meghan, your take on this? I mean, from the like I said, you sit on council, and even you, Brian, from the levels that you're going in, what has the violence in Upper Darby done as far as our reputation outside, where people are looking to come into Upper Darby, maybe investing in us, maybe, helping improve with us with some of the things, programs that we already have with the local nonprofits and what we're doing. What impact do you think socially that this violence that people have been seeing in Upper Darby has done to our reputation?
Well, first of all, I do want to just address one thing that you were talking about before in terms of racism with Bobby, because when this happened, I talked to him about it, and that I've been called very terrible things
Absolutely.
while I've been on council, just based, again, on what I look like.
Yeah.
And
What, a pretty blonde?
that's not what they said.
They said something, blonde.
Yeah. But as Dave said, I really like the idea of him saying that it's not a black and white thing. Especially, I don't know if you recall this, but I really was not a pretty educated person, but I didn't know what Juneteenth really was. And I sat down with you, and you explained it. You taught me about it. And it's so nice to be able to come together and bring all of our histories together,
Right.
to create what Upper Darby is, right? And so I thank you for that. You really made me appreciate it and understand it.
Well, our history has always been here in Upper Darby.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that, and I just want to segue real quick. I really do appreciate the things about Juneteenth, but I just want to say this, guys. Juneteenth was all of us. You know what I mean? Dave,
100%.
Dave, you with the music for me, you know what I mean? Like, you came in, at a time where I needed help. You guys and your donations that you steered my way. Laura, you being on council and being a vocal spokesperson for it. You know what I mean? Saying, hey, Mr. Blye has done this, and this is where he's at with that, blah, blah, blah. You made sure that these things didn't happen when there are people who look like me, who are supposed to appreciate the history, did not. So that's the other thing that I want folks to understand when you view this, and understand that our history wasn't black and our history wasn't white.
Right.
It's American. And we
American.
all made it together, okay? We all made it together. Some worse than others, but at the end of the day, here we are. Because if we were still there, I definitely wouldn't be behind this mic.
Well, I also, speaking of mics, that's why I'm also glad we were able to vote when they tried to silence you at meetings to allow you to speak. But anyway, in terms of the violence question, and I think, Brian can talk about this against the whole county, but
Right.
Upper Darby is not looked at favorably anymore. And, when people say, you're a councilwoman in Upper Darby, they kind of like step back a bit and like, how can you do that? Like, how is it there? And it's because the violence has gotten so out of control. Dave and I were watching a video just last night that was horrifying, and that was over behind Gariford.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's scary. It's really scary to think that we can't, that we have to be worried,
Right.
to walk outside. Or there's times we didn't lock our car doors, and and we have to now.
Yes.
But
House doors, not even car doors.
And
house
house
doors.
House
yeah.
doors.
So Rich, you hit it right on the nail on the head here. I interviewed with a group probably about 3 months ago for an endorsement. I'll just leave the name alone.
Right.
16 people in there. Some people didn't want to hear what I had to say. They wanted Upper Darby to do certain things, and I'm like, Upper Darby takes care of Upper Darby, please, this, and that. But my main thing, when I got sent back to these 16 individuals, I work at 1300 Frankfurt Avenue. Jules Mansbaum High School.
Right.
Over the summer, renovation. I'm a Steve Federal Local 420 member. I said to this group of people, I feel more safer outside 1300 Frankfurt Avenue, just like Bobby said about Chester, than I do on State and Lansdowne at 2:15 in the afternoon.
Yep. You got to believe
Okay.
it.
4 individuals out of those 16 people that were going to vote for me to get my endorsement. What's that mean? I said, excuse me? I said, did you hear something that you didn't like about a certain color of skin? What do you mean by that? I go, exactly what the truth is. Sir, obviously you don't want to hear the truth.
Right.
I feel more comfortable at 1300 Frankfurt Avenue, Jules Mansbaum High School. Bobby just said he felt more comfortable in Chester, outside Chester High,
Right.
than State and Lansdowne. Now, that's called the truth. People don't want to hear the truth.
And I want to say this. I'm going to say this. Why do you think I'm in Chester? Okay, let's be honest. Okay, well, number one, I got kicked out of Upper Darby. Okay, that's number one. Okay, but I'm still on the border. But you know why I go to Chester? I go to Chester so I can feel powerful. I go to Chester so that way I don't feel ridiculed for speaking freely when Chester opened up his doors when Upper Darby, certain members of Upper Darby, shut that door. I wasn't rejected by Chester. You know what I mean? There are people that listen to my station, oh, man, he just whatever, you know, and I get that. You'll have that. Same thing here in Upper Darby. But I think that where I'm at and why this group is more important, very important at this point in time, is that you guys have the flexibility and the ability to reach a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds without having to play the game. And that's why I wanted to have this round the table here. Because, again, folks, we're not electing popularity. Okay, we're not electing individuals who have billions of dollars, hundreds of dollars. These are folks that live in row homes. These are folks that live in duplexes. These are folks that are driving American cars or, you know, some type of beater or something like that, because all of us don't have money like that. A lot of us are here still paying a lot of mortgages and stuff like that. So when we look at these individuals here that are running, here are their faces, here are their voices, here are their experiences, here's what they have done, here's what they can show you. And if you look back 3 years into your life and say that you're better off today from that moment there and you don't want things to change, then vote the way that you're going to vote. But if you want to be better off going into the future, if you want to be better off with a change, if you want to have an option, I want you to look down this table and consider each and every one of these individuals for your vote, because they show and have shown what matters. Christy Gow couldn't be with us today. She had a little conflict, but we will be attaching her video to it. There's her shirt at the end of the table. She is running as the treasurer on the Republican Party. I just want to shout Christy out real quick. For folks that need to understand.
Bill, can we shout out to Bill for the 5th, Bill Scott.
And hold on. Bill Scott from the 5th. Bill, I'm gonna kick you when I see you. You should have been here.
You better believe it.
Yeah, you should have been here, Bill. You know how I get down, man. There's always room at the table.
Can I also add one thing in?
Yes.
Everyone here has owned a house and have paid taxes.
Yes.
And trash and sewer fees.
Yes.
And not every candidate that's running in Upper Darby has done that.
Well, you mean like Kyle McIntyre?
I'm going
to say it. Here's the thing. I'm not running. I'm not running.
I mean, to the point that Dave pointed out about earned income tax.
I know.
That tax is going to affect everyone in a very negative way, and for people to support it when they themselves don't pay all the other taxes is really a crucial thing that for people to understand. We fight for the truth. We fight for transparency, accountability, fiscal responsibility. That is all very important and crucial because, quite frankly, without those things, we can't have more police officers. We can't have a better program with, we need programs for our kids.
Right.
The youth need to have something to do.
Absolutely.
If they had programs to go to, then they wouldn't be on the street in Bond Shopping Center causing problems.
Absolutely.
Because they'd have somewhere to go.
Absolutely.
So there are so many things that need to be done, but quite frankly, if you don't vote for the candidates that are most qualified and will do the best for the township, regardless of party, then you're going to keep getting the same old, same old. And when you do that, I'm afraid of where we're going to go. So please consider voting for us.
I want to say this. I want to say this to folks. There's a reason why you can't be president until you turn 35. There's a reason why. Okay? There's a reason why that there's certain qualifications that you must have in order to hold an office. Okay? And again, the folks at this table, they have integrity. It's not their job to call out individuals that are running on other candidates, but this is the wonderful world of Rich Blye. You know me, I don't care. I say it all the time. I tell you if I like somebody or don't like somebody, I don't care. They don't have to endorse that, but I'm going to say it. You can't get a kid who is 27 years old, lives in his mother's basement, has no children, probably won't have any children, and pays no taxes. Okay, that's not a knock against him. So anybody wants to hit me in the head about what I said about Kyle McIntyre, understand that you're talking to a father of an openly gay married son. Okay, so you can't hit me in the head with that. I don't like the fact that he is too immature for the position that he is running for. And the other guy, Mr. Noah Fields, I'm sorry, it's the same thing. We have individuals who are not mature enough to handle the township's money. When I worked for the corporations I worked for, I had to go through credit checks because I handled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay? And through my credit check and my maturity, I was hired to what? Safeguard the company's finances, not spend the company's finances, worry about the company bottom line. This is the same thing that these folks are doing, asking you to give them the jobs that they're asking for. They are here to safeguard your money. They are here to provide for your security. They are here to restore the integrity of office, which is desperately needed in these times. We got a lot of clowns and jokes, and this is not a time for us to be PC. Because we have problems, folks. We have problems with our children. We have problems with our elderly. And we are in a food crisis manufactured right now because people refuse to move on and do what is necessary for the good of the people. So when you go to vote tomorrow, I want you to consider my endorsed candidates for each position on the wonderful world of Rich Blye. I want you to consider my candidates for Delaware County Council. I want you to consider my candidates for Upper Darby Township Council. I want you to consider my candidate for Register of Wills, because these are proven people with a proven track record who have not sat up here and abused their positions wherever it's been. We have a freshman candidate right here with fresh ideas, boots on the ground. We have an incumbent that came out and stepped out of the shadows and told the truth. We have former council presidents that presided over garbage and people silencing people. We have business owners and attorneys here at this table that love this side of the county and Upper Darby Township, and we need to return that love back. And that's where I'm at. See you on the flip side.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Hoorah!
That was great.
Rich,
I have
I've never seen this side of you, man. I just seen the